All right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report Town Hall session. The discussion again was happening even during the break. Hashtag Monday Report. Keep your views coming. I'll try and sample them really fast. Just the same way I want to sample some views from our audience here in a split second. So I'll start with your name and your comment or question.
Good evening, guys. My name's Al Mui Mungai. This is my suggestion. According to me, we should fall down the women chamas because let me try to explain it in Kiswahili. Kwa sababu wale wamama wakipatana pale kwa chama wataenda anamwambia hizi ndio mashinda tunapitia pale naomba pesa sipatiwi, lakini at the zile majibu anapata anamuuliza kwani wewe wako ni mwanaume kuliko wangu na wangu waniambiangi kitu kwa nyumba. So unapata wakiendelea hivyo vita inatokea pale nyumbani na hakuna mwenye atasikiza yule mwingine. Okay. So according to me, at least those chamas za wanawake zipunguzwe. Hizo ndio zinaharibu.
Influence of friends again. All right, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Michael Mungai, and mine are challenges to the three institutions, and I'll start with the church. Reverend, do you teach people that the founder of the marriage institution is God, and that as the third person and as the institute of that marriage, if he is not involved right from the preparation to the end, that marriage will never ever be successful? It belongs to him. He knows how it should operate. He should be consulted in everything. Coming to the marriage counselor, do you tell people that before they go to marriage, that we have a problem of too much expectation, as you said it? People expect too much instead of themselves having prepared themselves. That is when you have so much expectation to somebody, then you are disappointed, it comes back to you. Finally, to the government, do you control the content, be it the viewing, be it the hearing? Because some of these radio stations, whatever they air in terms of the challenges in marriage, it is so pathetic, it is so uncouth to people. So do you control the content and the influence of the Western countries in terms of what we view in terms of programs and that?
All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead, comment, question really fast.
Good evening. I'm Karoki Kimemia. I have a question to Madam Mili Odhiambo. What are the laws pertaining to separation in a marriage? Suppose a man leaves a marriage and he wants to have space from the lady, and the lady keeps pressuring that man. Are there laws that maybe seclude that man from leaving his responsibilities for a time, maybe to cool down? Thank you.
My name is George Aliet. I just have quick submissions. One, I'll request the panelists to think twice in terms of how they articulate issues over this. Reasoning being, we need to think from the basic unit of the society. Let's inculcate cultures where we don't only mitigate the problems. In the sense, Honorable Mili should scheme for a way of how we can have caucuses back at the grassroots levels. Two, from the church, you need to inculcate good moral values through parents from the church. Then the last bit, I really think we need to think twice on how we handle the boy child. Almost all our things are geared towards girl child. And so they tend to think we are at par. And this is what brings all this message. Thank you.
Okay. Are we not at par? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Desang, and okay, mine is a concern that what brings about these old issues is the cheating thing. So I think for each of the partners, they should stop cheating, of which to the 99% they won't. That's something I'm almost sure about. And when it comes to, okay, for example, the ones who have gotten married and those in relationships, when they're outside there, they meet somebody and the story of sijui the heartbeat, sijui the sweating, and you find someone saying, I'm not dating, I'm not married. What devil enters you at that moment? And the one you're being told that, don't you have your mind to think twice why you being told I'm not married and someone is big enough to be your daddy? Okay. Think twice.
Good evening.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Ken Babu, Cooperative Investing. I think I have a submission to make, basically to us youths, because all these things that are happening in marriages, they start from how we grow up. I think it's wise enough that when you are going into a relationship with any lady, we should stop this issue of pretense. You pretend to be having something that you don't have, such that when the issues are coming out and it is proved now that you don't have it, you tend to to defend yourself so that it looks like you have it. And when you are told the truth on the ground, you become angry, which results into these malicious actions that are not legal enough in this society. Okay. Thank you.
You have a comment, question, really brief?
Thank you. My name is Samuel Buru, a young parent. My concern is to the panelists. Let's keep the discussion continuous. Let's not be initiating the discussion when the issue arises, but let's keep the conversation going ahead.
Okay.
2, I would like to know or have a redefinition of love. How much is too much of love, and how much is too less to love? Thank you.
Diane, I hope you're listening. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Charles Njoroge, and I would like to echo the words of my synod, Honorable Meri, by saying that what I think is that people should be on a vision. People should be visioned and on a purpose, because when you're on a purpose, you are going to get the bone of your bone, instead of just littering around, whereby there are so many, wacha niweke kwa Kiswahili, watu wako tuko barabara hivi, hawana lengo. So wakati tuko on purpose na tuko on vision, I'm sure that each one of us is going to get the bone of his bone or the bone of her bone. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Very briefly, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah.
My name is Makori, and Angwini is my other name. I'm a media student at Zitik University. So I have a few questions. One goes to Reverend. I think, yeah, the church is taking a lot of blame or too much blame. And then what I wanted to ask is about when somebody plans to wed, there are those announcements that do take place in church. And then it happens like 4 times, 5 times before the wedding takes place. And then in that period, how are you taking through the couple that is yet to be made in terms of counseling, in terms of knowing each other, or in terms of understanding the love languages between or amongst them? Because they need to understand, or I need to understand the love language that she she appreciates or she likes, and she also needs to understand the love language that I do understand. And then, Honorable Millie, do you think that this marriage thing should be regulated in a way that, yeah, at a certain age, that's when you should start marrying? Because, yeah, you find many people like small children, yeah, I'm out of school, I will reach to this level, maybe class 8 or form 3 or form 2, and then the next thing that I rush to is marriage.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Thank you.
So, good evening.
Good evening.
I am Guitura Jogu, and my concern, or rather a sentiment, I want to put across this notion that because the issue of love and rage is an emerging trend, we will agree that the challenges that are confronting our days, it is so much different from what used to confront our parents, perhaps because the current parents of today, or the current husband of today, the needs that he is required to meet are far much different and has mutated from what was expected some centuries ago. Because, for instance, if I am approaching a girl and the girls are so much empowered economically, perhaps, you know, this girl doesn't require bread from me. From me, she doesn't require a vehicle. She doesn't, because she has it all. Now, as a husband, how will I maintain my identity? Because traditionally, you know, the man, you know, the role of a man was barely to provide bread, and the family was very much happy. But today, the woman has it all. How will what is my importance in that marriage, and how is my identity going to remain valid in that family?
Okay.
Perhaps you can enlighten us on that.
All right.
And secondly, perhaps the last question is to the government. are we really serious in terms of, are we really serious in terms of how we want our families to be? Because I think we put less action towards bringing up proper families. For instance, if you go to school to take a driving license or perhaps to get a qualification to get a job, there are so many courses that you are taken through for you to be deemed qualified to, to pursue that particular course or to get a driving license.
Okay.
But when you come to marriage, you receive that marriage certificate within an hour. And then I wonder, are we really serious with our marriages, with our families? Perhaps, you can...
Okay. Yes. Very briefly. You have a question or comment? Yes, let's go. Very briefly.
My name is Chelsea Nanjala, and I have, it's more of a comment. As much as we are boiling everything to what the church is doing and what the government is doing and what counseling has to do, I feel like this whole thing has, it comes back to the individuals in the relationship, because as much as the church might need to counsel people, the person really being counseled may not take in, or maybe they grew up in a great family, but they really don't come out the way the family brought them out. Okay. So as much as we are boiling everything back to what the government has to do, what the church has to do, it really boils down to the individuals and what they really have to do in the relationship.
Okay. Very brief.
Thank you. My name is Jonah. Two things. Where did we go wrong in terms of culture in our country? And I think it's a big issue for us because we imported the westernized culture to our country. Then we lost our culture in our country.
Okay.
Two, church, the biggest issue in our country, in our society. I can say it all. Reverend, kindly, how are you going to help the young people that are going to come into marriage so that they can have a successful marriage?
Okay.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Briefly.
My name is Victor Waweru. I would like to say, I think we need to go back to factory settings in terms of morality and matters morality, because in the traditional we had parents who would raise children into good people in the society. We had fathers who would raise sons into men. We had mothers who would raise daughters into good women and good mothers. But right now we have parents who are taking their children to school to be made in, to be built into good people in the society. So it is either we inculcate good parenting, or either we bring morality in our curriculum more in terms of it, more than we have done, because in the curriculum we don't have much of morality other than knowledge, and so the parents have taken their children to school instead of bringing up them in the proper parenting methods.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, 10 seconds each for comments or questions, very fast.
Okay, good evening. My name is Emmanuel Sambuli. I would like the panelists to talk about drug abuse, because it's the core factors that is affecting the current relationship.
Drug abuse. All right.
Yeah,
got it.
Drug abuse.
Next. Very fast.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Samuel Chugona, and I would like to concur with Madam Meri. She said that we have absent parenting, because I can see if a kid was raised up and went to boarding schools. After that, they went to boarding high schools. After that, now they are into colleges. Then they didn't have that time with their parents to get guided. Now after that, they get into marriages. They even don't know what goes on in marriages. Okay. After that, they even don't know what may be the course of actions to take.
Okay. 10 seconds, sir.
Okay, I'm Joel. My question goes to the marriage counselor about when you decide to move on and leave your spouse behind. How can you advise someone that when you go completely, don't come back? Because you take a case when one comes back, it's like, I want to leverage. So when you come back, I will leverage, but if you go completely, there will be no leverage.
Okay. The return of the ex. Okay, go.
Good evening. My name is Eva, and I have a suggestion or a question or a food for thought for everyone. Change is inevitable. Society is going to change whether we like it or not. And this thing has happened before, if I'm not wrong. This situation where people are killing each other, it's happening now, and it will probably happen in the near future. God forbid, of course. So my point is this: as a society, is it time that we look at things differently, other than the usual blame game? Because this is what we do with every topic in this society, other than blaming religion, politicians, the legal system, or the professions around the topic at hand. Can we probably have a mystic next time on the panel? Someone who will give us a different view, somehow a different way of looking at things. You know, not the usual things that we are used to, same answers, live without solving anything.
What do you think are some of the solutions?
Someone said it here, personal responsibility, for one.
Good.
Yeah.
So you also have the solutions yourself. No blame games. Let's go.
I think I'm
very brief.
I'm Jonah Diambo. As I can check, we are all the product of love. As we seated here today, all of us, we are product of love. I want to talk as a typical African boy. My first point, our wazee in the society are losing it. For me, my Babu taught me 3 things. The first point was, never raise your hand to beat a woman. The second thing, never raise your voice to a woman in a public. The third thing, if you will have kids, never fight your wife in front of your kids. And I will live with these things till the day I will be buried. The second thing, he told me that your wife is the one who will bury you, not the one who will kill or the one who will chase away. You might chase her away, but during your worst moment, she will be the one who will come to help you and to bury you.
Okay. Question, comment, very briefly, 10 seconds each.
Hello.
Yeah.
My name is Kelly Busolo Rajai. I'm a student, and I have 2 concerns. Number 1, it's about friendship. You're talking about, I've been following, we're talking about friends will help us, and again, we are saying friends, again, will influence us. So how do you handle that?
Okay.
And number 2, I want to ask about this love issues. For example, this might it be the one causing love wrangles, whereby maybe young men are marrying women that are older than them.
Okay. Quickly, very quickly, we have only 5 seconds to
My
finish.
name is Arnold. I want to have a concern, really, not a question. There's power in moving on. There's power in starting over. Don't get abused in a relationship. And one thing that happens, if you marry well, if you choose well, you'll be a complete man or woman.
Okay.
But if you do it wrongly, you'll be finished.
Okay.
Check on the difference between complete and finishing. Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Griffin. I'm Davi. Mine is just to say the government should introduce a subject known as sex, love, and parenting from the primary school. This will help us, the children, so that when you grow up, you know something about love, something about parenting, something about sex.
Okay. I have 2 more, then we get reactions from the panelists and close. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Edgar Oshing, and I have a question. It's like we are receiving pressure from so many sides, from the church, from our parents, and from the society in general concerning marriage. You find that the church is telling us to wait until we are ready to marry. Our parents are forcing us to marry because they want grandchildren. So I don't know how we can deal with this so that we don't have those problems in marriage.
Okay.
Later.
Last one here.
Yes, Jambo everybody. My name is Noah Olo, and mine is to the Reverend. Reverend, mine is this, that can you say that the church is somehow can you say that the church is somehow contributing in a way, because you will find that in some families, pastors are being brought first than the husband. Pastors are being brought first. What the pastor says, that is what will stand. You understand?
Okay.
So,
so influence of pastors over
this
relationships.
is bringing a lot of problem in the family. You understand?
Okay.
So, sir, how can you comment on this? What can we solve that? Because the pastors are becoming a problem somehow.
Okay.
Yes, that is
Pastors
my
are
question.
becoming a problem. All right, let's see. Reverend, I'll start with you. You're on the receiving end.
Indeed.
There's some relationships where the pastor's word is final.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
So, well, thank you very much. Maybe I should start from the end, moving backwards, all the questions that have been asked. First to say that the influence of the pastor is definitely a huge one in families, and it is as it should be. Where there is an imbalance in that influence, the people in that family need to be able to sit with the pastor and say, we feel that some of the things you are telling us are not correct. Or if they fear the pastor too much and they feel that the things that they are being told are not correct, not that they are not challenging. I think I want to make a distinction that sometimes when we as pastors challenge people, people tend to feel that they are being wanaonewa. But there are times when pastors will be outrightly wrong. In those times, pastors need to be corrected. And if you feel that they persist in doing something wrong that is violating your family fabric, then you can choose to walk away and go to another church. You don't have to stay there. Okay? Find another church where people will be sensitive, but don't run away from being challenged. It's okay to be challenged because we only grow by being challenged. Okay? The other one was the confusion of the church saying wait and the parents saying go. The church has its message, and it's very clear. Our message is that people have to engage in activities at the right time. If parents are giving conflicting signals, then that message needs to be synced. Okay, so that, which is why the whole family comes to church, because then you listen to the same message, and you're able then to go and sync it at home. There are questions I was asked. Let me begin with Mohammed. Mohammed asked a question about the role of chauvinism, that the Bible promotes male chauvinism, especially with the situation with Eve. I think the situation with Eve is basically just a reporting of what happened. And what the Bible does actually is the complete opposite of chauvinism. The Bible is very harsh on men and tells men to love their wives sacrificially to death, to their own death. Men are asked to love as Christ loved the church. So I think a holistic reading of the Bible would probably produce another outcome where you will see men in better perspective than the chauvinism. Your question, Trevor, has church enabled women to leave when in a bad relationship? Most of the times, no. And that is because we still strongly believe in the sanctity of marriage. But I want to say this, and I say this as Reverend Tom and not as speaking on behalf of the church. There are times I've asked people to leave because one of my fundamental beliefs is that you cannot compromise your own safety, especially when there is real danger to your life. My own conviction is that people should walk away.
Okay.
But that may not be something that is bought across the board with my colleagues. Everybody has their own mitigation. I want to say this. Advice is given based on the situation. Okay. All right? For the most part, the advice is clear from Scripture. Okay. But every situation has its own mitigation.
All right.
The next one, I think that was very, very strong. Does the church inculcate moral values through parents? Yes, we do. Do we prepare people for marriage? Those who avail themselves. Not everybody comes to us to be prepared for marriage. Okay. Most people who come to us to facilitate the wedding. So they come 2 weeks to the wedding. So you try and have 2 sessions at most. And even in those 2 sessions, they are not there. Their bodies are there, but they are not there. So there are situations where, yes, the pastor will fail because of schedule matters, but there are situations where even the individuals did not prioritize premarital counseling.
Okay.
So it didn't happen because there was no time and it wasn't practical.
All right, because of time, I want to bring in Honorable Meri to make her closing remarks as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think people have said very many interesting ideas and asked very many questions. So I'll try to run through. Yeah. But first I want to say that in domestic violence, there's something that is called the wheel of power and control. And in the will of power and control, you will see at the beginning a person who is likely to be abusive. People don't just wake up one day and they beat you or they kill you, but they will put you down before others. They will always make you feel less than everybody else. And it will start with small things, and then it will escalate. And finally, it comes to a beating. And once you are beaten, they will come back in different ways and apologize. It's called the honeymoon phase. And then start all over again. And you must find a way of breaking that cycle. Because then if you don't break it, you'll end up dead. Okay. A bad relationship is not worth your time. I know sometimes there are a lot of churches who will tell you stay, and many parents will tell you vumilia. I will tell you do not vumilia. You are in a bad relationship, go and repair it from a distance. Then the other thing I would want to say is that marriage is good, and marriage is, I would encourage those who are seeking to get married, please get married, but it is also not a must. So don't settle with any person that you've come across because you are saying time is running out. Me, I got married at 38 years, and I do not owe anybody apology because there was nowhere where it was put that there is a competition of people to get married by 22. And if you are not married by 22, you are going to die by firing squad. No. I married at 38, and if I didn't get a good man at 38, I would not marry. The same man, I have no child and I have no apology. If you have a problem, go and take Panadol on my behalf. It's none of your business whether I'm married or have no child. So women, I want you to know that nobody sets your standards or nobody sets your pace. I also have an older sister who have no child, and she's married, and she's very happily married. So let nobody dictate their lives, because you can also have somebody else who is married and is very miserable and making you feel that you who is not married, you are miserable, and maybe you are happier. Okay. Don't marry for the sake. And for men, actually, we were talking offline before whatever, and I was telling some of these young, you know, they were saying that our women now are very materialistic, that if you are dating, then you must be able to buy them something. For me, that's actually the first red flag. You are relating with a girl who you must always buy something. Tell her to go and look for the next guy to buy her something. It might be more difficult for you to find a girl who doesn't want things bought, but that is a wrong premise to start on a relationship. We just don't have time. But me, when I met my husband, he was actually doing very low cadre job. But I loved him because we had similar values. It was important to me to marry a person who is a Christian and who respects God. And for me, that's a starting point. So I didn't care whether he had a car and he had aeroplanes. And don't think there weren't men who are pursuing me, because I'm also very beautiful. But there were men who are pursuing me who had all those, and I was not interested. Okay. Why? That's why we must go back to correct factory settings. Okay. And the factory setting is what are your values. Somebody asked a question about separation, that if things are not working, and when I tell you take a walk, it doesn't mean immediately divorce. But separation, the law allows you to take off for a while. But even as you take off, it means this spouse who you don't like, you don't have to relate with them or be together with them. But guess what? You must take care of your children. You cannot separate from your children. Separate from your spouse, but you cannot separate from your children. You will take care of your children, she will take care of the children. And women, I also see some of you doing this. The fact that you are separated from your husband or divorced does not mean you stop your husband or spouse from seeing your children. Your children is not their wife. You are the wife. It's the father. And a lot of women would not agree with me on this, but even when you are separated from the husband, the children have a right to see their father and vice versa. And you all have a right to see each other.
We're really pressed for time here, Diane. I'd like you to make your closing remarks very briefly.
Thank you.
Wanomay. Yeah. Now, I ran a forum called Wanomay Assembly. For those who might not know, that in that particular group we meet as men. And we had our last event yesterday. One of the questions that I was asking men is, who has neglected the boy child? And actually, we realized that we are the ones actually rejecting ourselves. Because if I was to ask you as a man, is there any young man, younger in terms of age or experience, that you've actually worked with? A lot of you will actually say there's none. So who are you expecting to mentor the boy child if it's not you? So first of all, we need to find our identity as men. Who are you Who are you as a man? And a lot of us, we are running into relationships and marriages without knowing ourselves. Both men and women. Take some time, find yourself before you find a spouse. Find yourself before you find a spouse. So once you find yourself, what are your values? That personal responsibility, take it upon yourself. Who are you? What are your values? That will dictate your friends, because your friends will have to share the same values. And sometimes friends, once they advise you something, you don't have to take it. Not every advice you should consider. You should take it to consideration. Listen, but choose. Sieve it through your understanding. Okay. And there's a gentleman who mentioned over here, what if you have a man, what if you have a woman who has a car, who has a money and all that kind of stuff? We need to realize that the number one reason why we should be getting married is companionship. Companionship. Companionship cannot be bought. Intimacy, you don't need money to have intimacy. Whether the woman has got money or you don't have money, you are having companionship. Because guess what? The children that actually were being talked about, that why don't we just give birth to children and then just raise them? Those children will grow and move on to start their own lives. That's why whenever we are aging, we want somebody to grow old with, somebody who can understand us. And love is beautiful. Love is beautiful. If in case you grew up in a broken home, heal fast so that you don't recycle that heart. Okay. Heal fast. If you got into a messy dating scene, heal fast. Because a lot of us were exporting the mess in our dating scene into our marriages. Somebody asked about whether we prepare the society for this. Let me tell you this. My wife and I, we run so many forums. One of them is called Married and Saved, strictly for the married. Single and Saved is for the people who are not yet married, to prepare them for marriage. This is an everyday conversation that we tend to have. And even for the events, we take them across the county, so that we get to go to grassroots, tuongee na watu, tupate kujuana. Why? Because as somebody said, we should not wait until something tragic happens for us to have this conversation. Okay. First of all, personal responsibility. Let's not blame our parents for how they raised us or didn't raise us. Let's not blame the church. Let's not blame somebody else. Take personal responsibility. Ask yourself today, who am I? What's my vision? What do I want to be? And when I die, who do I want to be remembered for? Okay. So know yourself. Then once you know yourself, you're going to choose the right person to grow old with. And in case if things don't work out, get to find mitigation places when it comes to counseling and all that kind of stuff. A counselor is somebody who's an arbitrator. Okay. You bring in your point, and then your partner brings in your point. We find a middle ground and understand each other, because there's too much misunderstanding happening between genders. I need to say this. Love is beautiful, but above all, first, love yourself. Okay. Love yourself. Love yourself, then you'll be able to love others as you love yourself. Please love yourself. A question was asked, how much is too much love? Hey, swali mzuri sana.
Very briefly though. Too much love is when you lose yourself for being there for somebody else. Once you realize you're losing yourself, know that you're loving too much. But if it was genuine love, if it was mutual, both of you will be giving and receiving. Okay. When you're loving the right person, you don't feel you're doing too much. Actually, you want to do more. I want to do more. I want to do more for the person that I love. So if in case you're losing yourself, know this. Maybe you're loving the wrong person the right way. All right. Diane Masinde, marriage and relationship counselor, thank you so much for making time. Reverend Tom Otieno, SCK St. Augustine Madaraka, and Honorable Milio Diambo Suba North Member of Parliament. Thank Asante Sana for making time. Dan Matakaya and Gini Nasongo, and also Elfas Angulu for sharing those moments with us. We do not take that for granted. They were powerful moments, and we appreciate all of you for making time for the Town Hall session. This has been the Monday Report Town Hall session. My name is Trevor Mbij. Always a pleasure having you with us. We've been trying to run some of your tweets just underneath our screen. I'm sure you saw them, so don't say that I didn't read them out loud. We made sure they were there, but thank you so much for the engagement. And this is where we call it a night. And special thanks to Panari Hotel for hosting us. Bye for now.